So I realized that in order to have more advanced functionality in my Webflow websites, I need to learn JavaScript. And currently I'm learning HTML and CSS through free Codecamp, but I haven't really touched JavaScript yet. And frankly, it looks difficult to learn, but I didn't want that to stop me from trying to implement it. And through a lot of trial and error, I discovered that I could use AI like ChatGPT or Google Gemini to help generate JavaScript for my Webflow project. And all I had to do was tweak the code a bit to make it work in my project. So in this video, I'm going to show you how I used AI to help me write JavaScript code using 3 real-world examples within a website. Okay, the 3 examples we'll be doing are creating an age gate for a website. So if you have like a brewery or distillery where you have to be a certain age to enter the website, you'll have this. So we'll be sure to incorporate that. We're also going to have a dynamic hours of operation that highlights what the active day is. And then the last thing we'll do is have a dynamic year generator so that when it becomes 2025, it'll automatically change to that and every other subsequent year. We'll start with the easiest thing first, which is the year, then we'll work up to the hours of operation, and then we'll finally do the age verification. We first need to set up our custom code environment because the last thing we want to do is put all of our custom code here, because this is a disaster, because every time we do this, we have to publish the site to see our changes, and if we're doing a lot of fiddling around with code, it just takes a lot of time. So we want to not do this. So what we're going to use instead is something called Slater.app, and this is a I don't exactly know what you call this. It's like an external coding environment where this will connect with your Webflow project. So you can put all of your custom code in here. And what's really neat is that when you publish your website, you can make changes in this platform and you can instantaneously see the changes made on your published site. So it just makes life a whole lot easier. So you can sign up for this. It's free to use, I think, for 3 projects. I already created a project here, but you'll want to create a project and then link it to whatever your Webflow project is. So I'm going to open up this. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go to this connections tab here, and I can see that it's already linked up to my page here. But if it doesn't link up for whatever reason, you can do so in the settings and just click whatever site it's going to be linked to. Okay, so from there, we got to copy a couple things. So we got to copy the smart script. So we're going to take that, go back to Webflow. I'm going to go to this. I have a FinSuite Chrome extension here, where what's neat about this is that this will allow me to put in code that gets implemented site-wide and not just page for the page. Because if you do it through the home and you go to the custom code there, this only gets implemented on the page. So, but if you download the FinSuite Chrome extension, which looks like this, then directly from Webflow, you can add custom code to the entire website without having to go to the site settings. So if you don't have the FinSuite and you don't want to get it, you'd have to go to site settings and you would have to put the code there. But I'm going to do it here since I have it. So we go to custom code, and then in the footer, this goes in the footer, we put that script. And then we save that. That's all we need to do for now. So don't worry about anything else. So that's our coding environment. So now what we want to do is we want to add a file. And so we are going to call this scripts, and we want this to be global. So we're going to do all pages, and there we go. So now we have our environment. So basically any code that we put in here, well, we have to publish this first. So let's make sure to publish this. Cool. All right. And so there we go. So this is our published page at the moment. And so any JavaScript that we add in here, once we save it here, if we refresh this page, any changes will be able to be seen. So I just wanted to give that overview first. So yeah, let's dive into our first example now. All right, the first example we're gonna do is really easy, but really helpful to have as well. So we want the copyright section, we want the year to dynamically change. I mean, this is something that I see a lot of websites, they just statically put it in their footer and they forget to change it year by year. So we want JavaScript to dynamically change this. So I have a prompt in Google Docs that I made so you don't have to watch me type. So I put in the footer of my Webflow website, I want the year to dynamically change. Can you implement JavaScript code so that it reads copyright, the symbol, and current year? So I'm gonna use ChatGPT for this. Slater does have this AI. I've never used it. It could work really well. In fact, I think it does use ChatGPT, but just for the sake of having this work smoothly, I'm going to use ChatGPT because typically this works way better than Gemini, at least for code. So let's do this and see what happens. All right. So it's telling me to use a span. I did not do that. So I don't think we need that though, because I think for us, since we're using a just a div class, we can just set the div set the ID as current year and it'll still work. So what we're going to do, we have this script here, and so we're going to copy this over and put this in our Slater. Okay. All right. So one thing to know, and this is just something I learned through trial and error. A lot of times the code that ChatGPT and even Gemini will give is this first phrase here. You don't need that. And I don't have a great explanation for this, but if I save it as such, it'll say that Slater uses this DOM content loaded event already. So basically, by having this here, it's being redundant, and we don't want redundant. So we want to get rid of this top line here. And because there's this bracket here, it corresponds with this bracket here. So we want to get rid of the top and this. So now all we have is this. And so basically what's happening is it's creating, I don't know JavaScript that well, but just from using this a lot, it's creating a new variable, and then it's going to get the current year ID, which we got to do, and then it will add this here. All right, oops, didn't mean to do that. All right, so let's go to Webflow, and now we have our current year here. So we have the class set up, but we need the ID. So we need to go to settings, ID, and we just need to do current year. All right, so now this will correspond to is what is in the JavaScript. So from there, we are going to hit publish. All right, and then ideally, when we load this up, bam, it works. Excellent. So that's the first example. So now every year that goes by, this will dynamically change. And we did that using just 2 lines of code and adding an ID tag to one of our div classes. Just a quick note before we move on to example 2, in case it wasn't super clear, this current year div block is just an empty div block. There's no styles attached to this whatsoever. I just have this copyright wrapper here, and this is set for Flexbox horizontal for current year, the div, which we added the ID to as well, and then the footer text next to it. Just wanted to add that just in case there was some confusion there. All right, the second example is really cool. So we are going to have a dynamic hours of operation. So basically when a user goes on this page, depending on what the current day is, it's going to give a different background color to this row, and it's going to make the text bold so that a user just instantaneously knows what the hours are for the current day. All right, and so we're going to use JavaScript to do that. So I have some code here, and here we go. So, and again, like I didn't mention this in the first one, but I try to be pretty specific when I'm writing out prompts for ChatGPT. So the more specific I am, typically just the better results I get. So for this one, in my Webflow project, I want to create dynamic hours of operation. Can you implement JavaScript that does the following? And I put some parameters. So bolds the row corresponding with the current day. and changes the background color of the active row to this, which is a light blue color. And then this is the thing that I added that I didn't do in the first one. Here's the HTML structure of my hours of operation. So I did this because sometimes if you incorporate the HTML structure, it makes it easier for ChatGPT to make the JavaScript better correlate with what you already have. So to get the HTML structure, you go to your publish page, right click, go to inspect, and you click this guy up here. And I just click anywhere in the hours of operation, and you can look through here. This is all your HTML code. So the top parent of this section is the hours of operation wrapper. So we right click, we go to copy, we copy the element, and so now it has it. So I'm just going to paste it to here. So you can see it has the whole HTML structure for that hours of operation. So that's exactly what is listed here. So we're going to take all of this and copy that, and then go to ChatGPT. I just have a new session open, and let's see what happens. So it's doing its thing. All right, so it's giving us some JavaScript here. And let's see. And it's giving us some HTML too, which might just be redundant. I don't really think we have to do anything here. All right, let's go up here. I think this is really all we need here. So we're going to copy this and go back to Slater, and we'll just paste it here. And so just like before, because Slater already has a integrated event listener, we're going to get rid of that, as well as the corresponding brackets. All right, so with my limited knowledge of JavaScript, it looks like it's creating a few constants, and it's going to search for my day row. And if it matches the day of the week, it's going to make the font weight bold, and the row style will be that color. So ideally, I should just save this, and if I refresh this, it should work. And it doesn't. So let's look and see if we can troubleshoot here. So I'm first going to publish this and make sure that it's all up to date. All right, I figured it out. So when I copied this over to Slater, I only copied this portion of the code. I didn't include this last bracket here. So when I deleted this section and this bracket, I actually didn't have enough closing brackets to close the loop essentially. So what I need to do is copy this here, go back to Slater, add that to the bottom, and save it. And now if I refresh, it should work just fine. There we go, just like that, bada bing. So current day, which today is Tuesday, and it highlighted the row with that light blue, and it bolded the text. So we got that working. Okay, the third example is a little more involved, but it's something that I did for a recent project. So let's say we have a brewery or distillery website that we're working on. Well, we need some sort of an age restriction pop-up to show up when they first open up the site so that they can enter whether or not they're over 21. So I have that. It's currently hidden, but if I set it to flex, you can see it. So basically, this would pop up whenever a user visits the site for the first time. Now, obviously, like this wouldn't show up on a contact page. It would just show up on the home page. But for this example, we're going to be implementing this on the contact page. All right, and then there's a few parameters which I'm going to go over in the prompt. So let's go ahead and hide this for now. Okay, so. And here we go. So in Webflow, I have a pop-up age restriction modal that is currently set to display none. So I'm currently saying what it's set to so that JavaScript will know that, hey, I need to like open this up. So when a user opens the website, I want the following to happen. So the age restriction modal will appear as display flex. That's important to put because I find that if you don't specify that, it'll default to block. And if you set it as that, it doesn't look right. So whatever your modal is set as, you want it to specify that within the prompt here. Okay, so we have that. I want to lock the scrolling of the page, so you can't scroll through the page when it appears. If a user clicks the yes button, the modal closes. They can use the website. If a user clicks no, a browser display alert will appear indicating they're not old enough. And then when they click OK, they're going to be redirected to this site saying that we don't serve teens. All right. And then from there, if a user clicked yes, it'll save their response so that if they revisit the site, the pop-up will not appear again. Can you implement code to make this happen? And then I put the HTML structure of the pop-up modal just like I did before. So this is very involved. And so I had to use a little bit, you have to sort of put on the UX brain too, because you want things to be intuitive. You have to think through all the different scenarios that can happen. So let's go through here and see what happens. So we'll copy. I have a new instance of ChatGPT, and let's see what happens. Okay. So it looks like, all right, so it wants me to put IDs for the yes button and the no button. So we'll go ahead and do that. So, okay, so I need yes button for the, let me display flex. Okay, so I need this button here, which is obviously the yes button. I need to set that as the yes button. Okay, and then I need the no button. All right, going back to Webflow, so no. All right, so now the IDs are set. Let me see if I need to set any other IDs. I don't think so. No, just IDs for the buttons, okay? And, all right, and so I think we should just be able to add this. And so we'll copy all of the code here. All right, and since we did make changes on here, we are going to make sure that this is set to, make sure that the whole modal is set to none. Okay, publish the site. Publishing. Okay, and we'll refresh this and nothing should happen. Okay, good. All right, and then let's go and copy that code again. All right, again, we don't want this DOM content loaded thing, so we're going to get rid of this and the bottommost brackets. All right, and we'll save that, and then hopefully it works, and if not, we'll troubleshoot. And it doesn't work, so we're going to troubleshoot. Okay, so I figured it out. So a lot of this is just reading through, and even though you may not know JavaScript, you can maybe get a sense of what's going on. So the issue lies in this constant that the JavaScript is initiating. So it's initiating this constant called age modal, and so it's getting the element by ID of age modal. And so I have to make sure that the overall modal wrapper that we have has this ID. So if we go to Webflow and we go to the modal component, we need to add that ID and then publish that. And ideally, it should work. All right, so let's refresh this. Boom, and it worked. Awesome. Okay, so if we click no, we should get a display. Aha, okay, so we have a display here. You're not old enough to enter the site, and it should take us to that FTC website. Boom, just like that. Awesome, okay? So let's test the yes variable, okay? So we're gonna open the website again. Ooh, are we old enough? Yes, we are. It closes down. And so ideally, if we refresh the page, it should save so that it doesn't pop up again, okay? Boom, and that's the case. We refresh the page. I'll even do it from here again, and it doesn't load. So we have successfully added an age restriction pop-up to our web page. Obviously, this doesn't even scratch the surface on what JavaScript can do, but I'm new to this, so I'm still learning a lot at the moment. I just wanted to share this method with those who haven't tried using custom JavaScript before. Now, it's important to know that using AI doesn't replace the skill of actually learning JavaScript. I'm still going to eventually try to learn JavaScript through free code camp. However, what using AI allows me to do is notice patterns. So I'm starting to learn how JavaScript initializes variables and how it runs its programs. And I'm also learning how I can tweak the code to make it work for my project. And with using AI, I can even troubleshoot the code if I ever get stuck. I see AI as a quick and dirty way to get usable code for your Webflow projects, particularly for scenarios that aren't majorly complex. I imagine for those complex JavaScript scenarios, having a working knowledge of JavaScript is probably going to be required. But for now, I'm excited because I've essentially unlocked a whole new world for customizing my Webflow projects. So if you haven't tried using custom JavaScript using AI, I encourage you to give it a shot in your next project. And if you found this to be helpful, be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.